flag is right over there. Allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, this is chairperson. I got a little thing here. I'm gonna read. We wish you could be here in person. Oh,
Wish you could all be in person to be part of our regular board meeting. As a governing body, you must follow the governor's executive order and not meet with more than 10 in the area. According to subdivision 1, section 1, the presiding officer, chief legal counsel, or chief administrative officer of the affected governing body determines that an in-person meeting or meeting conducted under section 13E.02 is not practical or prudent because of a health pandemic or emergency declared under chapter 12. And section 3 of the Section 3, members of the public present at regular meeting location of the body can hear all discussion and testimony and all votes of members of the body unless attendance at that regular meeting location is not feasible due to the health pandemic or emergency declaration. According to subdivision 3, monitoring from remote sites, cell phone or another practical. All persons monitoring meeting electronic. We are providing a way for the public to see the meeting. We'll also post the recording of this tomorrow. All votes will be by roll call. But ask the director to say your name and it goes along with all right. We're going to take roll call. Randy Hackett here. Here. Noel Gerard. Mark Pedron. Let the record reflect that all directors are present. Approval of agenda.
I did. Okay.
I'll second.
That's Noel Gerard.
I did.
Great discussion.
I do have a question, Randy. Ellie Holm.
On the agenda.
On the 9th, I'm assuming that is the okay, are we seeing we're allowable to use with fee, or we're gonna have further discussion on pros and allowing?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as
you know, we had sent out a survey, people come back, you know, where we can having
Certainly, this is the place to have that discussion. I put that on the vote so we don't have to go back and change the agenda. You don't have to vote on it tonight.
so
AD is or AD the discussion.
And when it comes to action, we don't have to act on it tonight. And I don't think we'll be acting on it for the month of May either. So nobody will be in there.
Okay.
Any other change agenda? If not, That wasn't really a change, was it?
It's just a question.
Clarification. Alright, let's move back.
Right.
All in favor, Randy Hackett.
All in favor, Randy Hackett.
Lee Holmes.
Aye. Nicole.
Aye.
Ross.
Good.
Garrett.
Mary Lang.
Mary Lang.
Paul Gerard.
Paul Gerard.
Mark Petron.
Peter.
The motion is carried 6-0.
Motion carried.
Moving on to approval of minutes.
Approval of minutes.
Somebody wants to make a motion?
Two wants to make a motion of the minutes.
I'll make motion, the L home.
Second.
It was moved by Director Coleman, seconded by Trustee Lang.
Recording 2020 and policy meeting.
Any discussion? Hearing none.
Hearing none, all in favor. Ellie Holm.
Garrett.
Ross Garrett. Mary Gerard. Mark. Hackett. Aye. Six votes there. Policy meeting. Anybody want to speak to that one?
After having some discussions with an attorney, there are a few changes that I would suggest to the policy that we worked on diligently in April. First of all, most of these future contracts and not contracts, it just didn't agree. So that's an agreement. Now, usually, in order to qualify for anything more than short-term or less than 30 days consecutive hire. In other words, that's the substitute I'm in and work 30 days in district. It doesn't matter if I'm elementary, if I'm teaching band, or if I'm in the high school, or whatever. Then get a higher pay. But so it works 30 days. There's a reason for that, is it can get to be misleading. So I would say in this perspective, we have, it said that, it says after 30 days in the school year, being a daily substitute, the county indicated as a long-term. Well, all you need is after completing 30 consecutive days in the school substitute teacher, period, okay? And you get the rates to be reviewed annually, including during the year without revising the policy. The reason for that is you don't want to publish a rate of pay in a policy because it is subject to change. For example, right now we are facing a recession, and some things may change as far as how much we're willing to pay a substitute. Also, with distance learning, there are a lot of factors here that we didn't really consider. So rather than put down dollar amounts, you would be better off just saying after 30 consecutive days of employment in the district, you may be able to up a long-term substitute job. Now, that if that position is open, might not be a long-term substitute open, but there may, and then you have the right to go in and apply to that. The other thing too is that substitute letter of understanding in actually rather than the policy. Yes, you do make a few changes. One is the basic telling substitute what is expected of them. Two is duration, telling them that this is what you're going to be doing for however long. Usually if you sub, I've done it a lot. It's a few days. It might be more somebody that's out on FMLA, only medically. Otherwise, few days, it's maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but it's usually not for 30 days. And if they just run you with the contract, usually. The nice thing about this is you get a feel for that teacher in your building. If they're there for here, there, and everywhere, you've got a feel for where they might fit in your group, in your staff. But really, this substitute letter of understanding, if you keep 1 and 2 eliminated in the last line, look at the calendar part, keep that, take out the compensation, but leave the such, will be paid as authorized in whatever installment. That you can use as your policy, keep the amounts out of it for right now. Because I noticed one thing, it kind of bothered me. People that are clamoring to be a substitute or former teachers. That's a bad thing, but I really think that we should leave that open, a little bit more open-ended. And I don't think we should be, I know that, when people come into sub, usually they're just coming in and saying, here I have these skills, maybe I'm really good at industrial arts or agriculture or whatever. So I do have the skills, but I shouldn't be getting paid what I was getting paid as an educator in the district. So that's what I have some concerns about the policy. It needs to just get cleaned up a little. Take out amounts. Take out those amounts because that's very fluid. That can change. It can change with the fact that I'm more specialized. Say I have a special ed licensure. Well, that's a little different breed of kitty cat than it's be an elementary licensure, that's fine too, but it's just that there's different specialties in education. Okay?
Yeah, so when you're gonna talk, just raise your hand so I know who's gonna talk, and then I don't have to, everything is too close. Everybody's muted except Mary, so. That's all I want to say, so.
I just wanted to say, agree with Mary on the policy about the dollar amounts. But this is, she referred to the letter of understanding. That truly is an agreement we enter in with the substitute. And it is geared for more long-term. We have lots of maternity leaves. And so this gives us some written verbiage as an agreement with that substitute, right? Presently, we do not have one on file, so it's whatever goes with whoever hires these people. So long-term subs, this gives us a good writing in a fluid in a file that says what we can pay them. But I do agree with Mary on the policy.
I'll wait till we get to the policy discussion, right? Or we're in it. Okay. So the previous policy, the substitute policy, did that have a dollar amount in? So this new substitute your policies policy. Correct. Okay, and then you're talking about taking out the rates of pay, but then the rates of pay would then be in that understanding letter that you talked about. Yes. Okay.
Did this come out of policy committee? Did this come out of the agreement what you're saying? The policy committee?
It was our first reading. This is for reading of it, so we're still in a work stage.
Okay, so we're working on this.
We're not working on this. Okay. But if you got an idea, shoot it against the policy committee, guys.
No, I respect the policy committee, but they signed.
Anybody else want to speak to the policy committee?
Talk about, I guess, want to hold off on this and so we
yeah. Yes, we could. I'd like to talk about it too, but let's leave it for there. That's you're good with that. All right. All right.
in the 430 policy, which is a substitute teacher policy, and the other for the facilities is 431. So they're two very separate policies.
902 facilities. 31 is
Oh, yeah, it's a substitute, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, right, just the 400, thank you. Just wanted to be clear.
All right, moving on. Director of Grounds, Tony, there, Tony.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing anything.
How about now?
Now I hear you.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Bill can hear me. Okay, good. Where do we want to start?
At the beginning.
At the beginning, good. All right. Football poles and lights. I reached a deal with Minnesota Power. They are going to come in and put up 4 poles for us for $6,940. That's the price of the poles, and they are going to donate their labor.
One person for each one.
Mary's in the middle or no, one of the two. Okay, everybody else got theirs down? Okay, mine's going up. Okay, go ahead, Tony, and try it.
How do I sound now?
Oh, really good to me.
Okay. Yeah, yours very clear too. All right. Should I keep on going, or does everyone want to try to tune in yet?
Ask them what the number was again, 9,000?
$6,940 for 4 poles. And then I've got a quote from Voss Lighting for brand new LED lighting for the poles. There will be 96 fixtures for $17,142.72. Everyone get that? And then I've got a quote for an electrician, Oaks Electric, to come in and do the wiring and mount the new light fixtures and get everything up to speed for $7,804. So for just
The electrician.
yes. There. And then we had $10,000 for the previous 2 poles that we put in. So with everything added together, we'll have a 6 brand new poles and all new LED lighting for just under $42,000. It's kind of confusing.
It's a huge savings for what we were looking at.
Yes. If
We
you
were
wanted
initially
to go,
looking at the 85 to 100,000 mark, but with Tony's work with was it Minnesota Power?
correct.
Voss Electric and Oak Electric saved us about $45,000.
Probably could be well better than that.
Tony, do you just want to give the total dollar again so everybody has it?
Sure. The total dollars, this is including, you know, the four new poles that we're going to purchase this year, and then we purchased 2 poles 2 years ago, and the 96 LED fixtures and Oak Electric labor for wiring them up will be 40. Well, I'll call it 42,000 even. Everybody get that?
Well, Gerard, do we use that? Like, I'm looking at this like $42,000 for night football games. Do we use that for anything else besides night football?
It'll probably be a Joel thing.
Anybody?
We use it for some junior high stuff, junior high games at night, and then the varsity, and I believe even a couple JV games end up under the lights, especially later in the year.
So night football is $40,000. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Tony too.
Go ahead.
This is Director Gears. Tony, when could they probably start?
Say again, please. Could you repeat that, please?
Now you're muted. When probably watch out when they could start.
There we go. Now I can hear you.
When would they be able to start?
To put the poles up? Very soon. They actually were shipped into Minnesota Power's yard on the 17th. So they're very soon we'll have new poles.
Mary, were there any kickbacks or advances to bring up the pole? I'm trying to remember way back when we sort of part of us kind of grant to up our ability that way. Looked into that, Tony? Do you understand what I said?
Are you driving towards like a rebate on the lighting? Yeah, this is very tough to understand. I'm sorry. I caught about every other word, maybe.
Tony, Mary is asking if there's any rebates from Minnesota Power on those lights.
I am working with Minnesota Power right now. I'm actually going to have a conference call with them on Thursday. There is a potential for some rebate on the football lighting if we continue to do more LED upgrades in the buildings. It's kind of a little carrot at the end of the pole, so to speak. Right now, they haven't given me that number. I do have many rebate numbers on other LED fixtures, but the football lighting is pending on how much we upgrade the rest of the building. I can understand. I can understand Don very well and nobody else.
Hey, Tony, this is Noel. Do we have this 42,000 saved up somewhere, budgeted for this?
You're actually only looking for 32,000 because 10,000 has been purchased already with the poles 2 years ago. So.
Okay, so the question was, do we have money saved up for this or budgeted for this?
That would be a Don question.
Okay.
We did last year start putting money on capital. That was in my budget report.
No, sorry, Tony. I told the board everything without you hearing it.
Okay.
We had budget dollars in operating capital and LTFM that we had talked about.
Yes.
I'm gonna mute.
Any other questions on the football pole project?
Superintendent Phelps.
Yes, one of the things I wanted to speak to is you have to remember this isn't a one-year cost. We have to pay it 1 year, but the last set of poles lasted, what, 40 years, Tony? Just
Yes.
nod yes or no.
Yes. This set of poles would get us into the next time the school would want to do a big investment referendum type of situations.
Is there any other question, Tony? Right, Tony, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Yes. The next, I guess, for the football project, I guess if the board is okay with that, that gives Don the go ahead to release some POs for me to get the lights, the LED fixtures ordered, and the electrician lined up to get this done. So, and then I do have a couple more topics for talk about. Are you ready?
Yes, but
This is a terrible way to have a meeting.
go ahead.
Tony, go ahead and speak.
Oh, there we go. Let's try one person communicate with me. You're very clear, John. Otherwise, I can't hear a thing. Everything's good on the football project? John?
What was that? I'm sorry. Somebody else is talking to me.
Okay. Is everything good on the football project? Any more questions or information needed?
No, they're not. They want you to present your other questions.
Okay. Then the next thing that I'd like to bring up is the North Gym stage curtain. I do have a price for a curtain that would be a horizontal folding curtain that would basically secure that Old North Gym stage, and would be a very heavy duty canvas curtain that would be winch operated and be also decorative from the gym side. It would have a big Royalton R on it, and it would have the top 2 feet of it would have mesh, so the gym and the stage could ventilate. And it's not a cheap curtain. The bid that I got on it was $14,950. Very expensive curtain, but I feel I've researched other options. This is probably the least expensive way to secure that gym for probably the next 15 to 20 years until the district could, you know, make a decision what they're going to do with that space. And it still could be used for other things, but it would keep kids off the stage, and it would secure it. I believe I gave a quote or a hard copy of that quote to Don quite a while ago. So.
Tony, this is Noel Gerard.
Yes.
Is there any building codes with
Building codes having that curtain? I caught about half of that, Noel.
Sorry, is there any building codes that address fire resistance on those curtains?
This new curtain would be fire retardant and up to code. There is no egress issues or anything on the stage because it's not used as an occupied space. And there is 2 exits off of it, so no, we wouldn't be violating any code.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions on that curtain? If you'd like to talk about it, that's fine. The other option is just leaving it wide open like it is right now.
Tony, what would the cost be for blocking it, putting a block wall?
I didn't actually chase that option because it was going to basically snowball into a very big project. In order to put a concrete wall there, we'd have to basically saw out a bunch of the floor in the gym and put a footing down. And if you'd close that space up with a block wall, then we'd have some ventilation issues because the air handler on the south side of the gym also handles the stage and the gym at the same time. So there'd be some issues there. Then we'd have to figure out if we were going to leave the gym floor in there or take it out, because if you put a block wall in front of it, obviously our access to under the stage is gone. So there's it snowballs into a very, very big project that I didn't put a number on. I know it would be very expensive. I certainly can, but it's a fair amount of legwork.
Hi, Tony, this is Russ Garrett. That
yes.
That you're gonna put up, is that, and then it sounds like it will secure it from the gym side where children can't get under it or get into it from that side anymore, correct?
Correct. The curtain will have very taut cables that run on the sides and then in the middle of it also, and it makes it just about impossible for them to sneak around the side, and it would take many kids in order to lift it up to crawl under it, because it has a very heavy steel pipe that would lay on the floor, probably weighing several hundred pounds. So it's about as secure as we can get it with a curtain.
Yes, if you get a chance, board members, I suggest going up and take a look. Because everybody else has really done an outstanding job making that a useful space for us.
Is there any other questions about the curtain? Tony, do you have anything else to present?
Tony, have anything else to present?
Oh, don't unmute yourself.
Yes. Are you ready? Okay. Another set of stage curtains that I'd like to talk about is over at the elementary school. We did have that fire over there, and that destroyed the 2 front curtains on the stage at the elementary. And I did get a quote for a new set of curtains. There are 2 options. The first option would be to remove all the other curtains that are there. They're basically everything is out of compliance. The fire rating is gone on them now. They're past their life expectancy, so they do have to come down regardless. We could put a brand new set of front curtains on there for about $2,500, and the option 2 would be to replace all the curtains up there, which include the backdrop, to cover up the back of the stage, and some other prop type curtains. And that bid was $5,225. These curtains are IFR rated. They would be fire retardant for the life of the curtain. So they're very good curtains. And I also got a quote. What started the fire up there was a very old set of lights that was kind of cobbled together years ago. And I got a quote for some brand new LED lighting. These wouldn't be stage quality lighting, but they would be a good light for $1,441. So there's a couple options there. You either have an option of taking all the curtains down, having no curtains whatsoever, and maybe paint the stage, or you put brand new front curtains up and maybe the lights so the stage is usable for small programs, or you could go with the more expensive option and replace all the curtains. So if you like, Phil's probably the one to talk about this, how much they use that stage, or how necessary it would be to spend the money to bring it back up to where it was.
You want me to say a few words?
Sure.
Well, I support fully covering the curtains. I was kind of pleased at that $5,000 price. When you spread that over whatever it's going to be, 20, 30 years, that's a pretty good deal. And we have quite a few programs during the year. We do our graduation program there, and we do our assemblies there. We have our bell ringing and riff programs, often using the stage. And Tony and I and the music teacher met and looked at the options. She felt very strongly there should be a backdrop, curtain, and back. I agree with that. So if it's at all possible, I'd like to go the full route with that. Again, I think $5,000 spread over 20, 30 years of use or more is well worth it. And we need to bring those curtains up to code anyway, that whole area up to code with the fire retardant. So I thought it was going to be quite a bit more expensive than it is. I think that's a really good deal to bring that stage area up to date where it needs to be. So those are my comments.
Yes, what Phil would like with the LED lights that we would install would be about $6,700. And you could cut off about a little over $2,700 off if you would just go with the front curtains. So it's really a matter of how you want us to spend the money, or at all.
Chair, Mary Lang. My question is for Ms. Wall. Did we get some type of fire insurance money to cover any of these losses?
We didn't get any insurance money for it because the fire, because the curtain was out of code already. So there was no fire claim on it.
I'm not able to hear anything.
Talk
louder.
I did not know.
Muted. We did not get any money from that because that curtain wasn't totally code yet, so there was, the claim was no dollar replacement on it. They had no value to replace it.
Yes, the curtains were just past their lifespan, so we would be looking, regardless if the unfortunate fire would have happened, we would have been looking at this regardless. So it's something for the board to think about. It doesn't have to happen obviously right away with the we got some time on our hands, so I just wanted to bring it up that is a expense that could happen and would need your approval to move forward. So.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Tony?
I'd like to bring you up to speed on the LED upgrade project that I'm working on for the school and obviously the football field. There are some very substantial rebates available for fixtures and LED retro light bulbs and whatnot. And Don and I are working on it, in the financial end to see how far we can go with it. But we wanted to obviously see how hard of a hit these football poles were going to be first, and then some other things to take care of that you obviously got to leave a little slush fund there too for major breakdowns and any equipment in the schools and such. So, but there's some very, very lucrative rebates out there that the school could take advantage of right now for updating classrooms and corridors and such. So I'm diligently working at getting numbers. So. And that's really all I have for you.
Can you give us an update on fixing the roof?
Could someone say what he said there?
An update on fixing the roof.
The roofs are being assessed. Roof 1 should be here very soon to assess our roofs and give us a plan of attack on these roofs and give us what is going to be our next roof for replacement, or can we do some good repairs and get another 5 years, 10 years out of some roofs. So that is in the works also. No solid answers yet, unfortunately.
Do you have anything else to present, Tony?
That should do it.
Mr. Chair? Tony's also looking into securing the gymnasiums for us. As you know,
Yes.
we have multiple master keys out to let anybody in there. So we're looking at cost for fobbing those to bring it into security, so not everybody and their brother can be in there at any time, or sister. It goes along with roofs. I would suggest that we okay for the lights because we're gonna have to pull them out anyway and put it in poles. Because 2 of them are unsafe now. They could fall basically any time. Good one. Would you concur with the light poles, Tony?
What was that again, John? I'm sorry. It was very.
Concur that we have to fix those light poles. We gotta pull them anyway. You might as well put poles in as long as it's there.
Wouldn't have football or daytime football without replacing them, because I would basically take a chainsaw and cut them down. So we can't let people on the field with those poles. No.
Thank
It's
you.
in this. Yep.
Mr. Chair, Since we have the information that we need, should we go forward then with the motion to continue with the lighting project for the football?
It's not on our agenda.
I know, but that's what I'm asking, so when we get back to that.
I think it's gonna have to wait till the next meeting.
I'll see you.
All right, Tony, are you done?
Yes, that'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the information.
You're welcome.
Ideal. Activity director or something?
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll hit some highlights here. There's been some changes to what I had written up last week, especially what the announcement that came out on Thursday. The high school league, in response to the governor's actions, as you probably well know, all spring activities and athletics are canceled for the remainder of the spring. And really, they didn't want to make anything too soon because, you know, for fear of if we came back to school, then we canceled spring sports and now what? So they really wanted to wait as long as they possibly could. But they did make that decision yesterday or last Thursday afternoon. Every Thursday, we've had, us athletic directors have had weekly high school league lead meetings. It's a new consortium of athletic directors. You get together, they kind of give us an update on what's going on. And that this past Thursday, everyone wants to know what's going on. Everyone wants to know what's a decision or when you're going to make a decision. There's rumors out there. The news outlets break the story, but unless the governor says it, it's not policy yet. It's not a directive until it comes out of his mouth to them. So that's why it has waited until that time. At the time, for these past couple of weeks, we've been talking about what would the spring season look like, what would return to play look like, how much time would you need to build in to avoid injuries, and those things kind of are now over because those spring seasons are canceled. This coming Thursday, they'll begin talking about you know, they don't want to get too far out into planning, but they are planning for what could happen in the future, this summer and then this fall. This past Friday, they did have a board meeting, a directors meeting, and they decided to decrease some of the no contact time that we used to have in the summer. Typically, it's a 10-day no contact period around the July 4th. They cut it to 3 days this year. July 3rd to the 5th, there's a no contact time. And then they actually went a week later for the no summer contact as well. So typically it ends August 1st. They extended it another week to August 6th. So they get an extra week out of that. Everything is dependent on what goes on. It's really kind of a holding pattern until we can figure out, get a handle on this. As far as contacts, really, because the spring season is canceled, to them, to the high school league, everything is off season. So contact and everything like that is limited. There was some hope that Speech would be able to have their state tournament. There was some hope for perhaps the musical. However, because everything else is over, is canceled, those activities for us are canceled as well. Other updates here, we joined the Be the Light Minnesota for April 6th. Principal Swenson lit up the scoreboard for 2020 on our seniors, students, and community. We were only able to do that for one Monday as the football process is underway. In the meantime, I have checked in with our senior athletes. I did have a Google Meet with them, invited all 21 spring senior participants from FFA to trap, softball, baseball, and track. We had some people come to that and talk and just kind of see how they're coping with what's going on. We've had spring coaches. We've talked as well. All spring coaches and all head coaches were invited to a Google Meet where we kind of talked about an update. I updated them on what high school league is doing, where they're at for communication, what to expect moving forward. And then in that time period, I also introduced some professional development, more guided professional development, because these coaches are prepping and planning. And at that time, when we're having all these preparations, they're getting plans ready to practice. They're maintaining the fields. They've been updating their handbooks, their calendars, their all the logistical things that go into being a coach. They were ready to go. And softball and track were able to start, and they instituted their plans, and then they had to put the brakes on. But in that time where we broke, we were they were still planning and hoping for a season. And they were just absolutely crushed, as the kids were, that we don't have a spring season. So for more professional development for our spring coaches, I asked our head coaches to put in 25 hours of additional work, our assistant and JV coaches 20 hours, and then our junior high coaches 15 more hours of a commitment. If technology was working a little bit better, I'd screen share with you and I'd show you the log that our coaches are working with. And there's a lot of different options for professional development, from things from book studies to coaching clinics. I've already had 2 people wanted to re-up CPR, first aid, and AED training. Absolutely, I can pay for that for them. It's $14.95. They're good for 2 years. They have their certificate. They have the cards. And that's just a safety thing. So coaches are able to do that and log hours for that. Some of the things that they've been doing already for program enhancement, facilities, making sure inventory is all for uniforms, for equipment. They were able to meet as staff through Zoom meetings or Google Meets. And then up until this period of time where we had contact with our athletes, they were leading, whether it was a Remind, accountability groups like softball was, getting together, meeting and talking about how they're doing, or providing optional workouts for kids at that time. All of those things are just trying to get kids in that right frame of mind to make sure that they continue to stay active and stay focused. And now things have shifted a little bit, but that is kind of our current state. Some of the things that I asked my coaches to do that they had to do anyways that I needed is calendars. We need those anyways for HR. Updated handbooks are always nice. And then the last thing I asked them to do is, I'm a part of a book study through the Inside Out. I'm sure you've heard of the Inside Out coaching. And through this time, I've been doing these Inside Out book studies. And one of the things that they kind of were talking about is building a coherent narrative. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to do it. So I sat down, and it took me an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I went and reflected on my experience as an elementary participant, middle school, high school, and collegiate athlete. And throughout that process, you think about your positives and your negatives. What's changed my life? What's been biggest obstacles? And then you log the experiences, specific experiences that have given you affirmation that what you're doing is awesome, or things that have driven you away from the sports. And most of my negative experiences happened in those youth in elementary and middle school, and more positive kind of coming in through high school and college. And the words and phrases I used to describe those events were very powerful. And to reflect on those and to think back to what happened, what did I feel like? I felt discarded, invisible. I felt, casted off. And it was tough to reflect. And then you reflect on the positives as well. Things like redemption and accomplishment and all of those different types of positive things to reflect good and bad. And it brings us back to why we coach, why we're doing the things that we're doing in athletics. And that's what I really wanted all of my spring coaches to do, whether they're junior high, varsity assistant, or varsity. And that's something that they're going to produce. They're not going to give it to me because it's very personal, but I do want them to do that to reflect. But again, getting us back into why we do what we do. Let's see here. I'll move forward here so we can kind of get moving. As of today, I did put out that message through School Messenger last Thursday that everything is canceled and monies will be refunded. I worked diligently today, and I believe I have either everything electronically refunded, or those that pay cash or be cash their checks, they will be getting a check back to them in the mail. Hopefully they'll get that by the end of the week. So that is taken care of already. Just last two things here. The first one is coaches' pay. You know, there's a lot of things going around. We met with as CMC athletic directors, and everybody has in the CMC decided to pay in full their coaches for the prep work that they've done. They're doing some things like I'm asking my coaches to do, logging hours, professional development, and I was a part of a national AD teleconference here, and nationally, of the 450 people that responded to the survey, 60% of those that responded are paying in full. Like I said, they put in a significant amount of time already, regardless if they're a teacher in the district or not. And right now, I'd say we're about, 60-40 in the district versus out of the district for our activities. So, they were prepping in advance anyways. They were making sure everything was buttoned up, ready to go. So on day one, they're ready to hit the ground running, and then we had to put the brakes on them already. The last thing there is I had Superintendent Phelps put in here just today. I had filled out the co-op forms for two opportunities for our students with girls hockey. That pairing would be with Long Prairie Gray Eagle, Browerville, Sauk Center, and Wadena Deer Creek. But again, we're really providing the opportunity for girls hockey and girls swimming for the fall. And that would be paired with Little Falls and Pillager. Little Falls would be the host school there. Really, it's the initial stages. It's just a resolution saying, hey, we want to engage in this. But again, we want to provide the opportunity for our kids. The different surveys that I've seen for our students in particular, they're looking for more options. So, questions?
When you talk, just make sure you talk loud.
Fair enough. Tony, how come we didn't pair with Little Falls and girls hockey? Do they not have girls hockey?
So I checked with all of our surrounding schools, all the way up Highway 10, and Little Falls for girls pairs with Brainerd. So I called Charlie Campbell up in Brainerd, and because they're essentially the ones that would have to accept us. And Charlie's response is, at this time, the board believes that we do not want to add any more schools to the cooperative because they want to provide their students the opportunity to participate. So that's kind of the way I went north. Little Falls pairs with them. I went to the south. I went to it's the Storm Sabers. It's Sauk Rapids Rice and Sartell for girls. They have a full squad. They're not willing to allow right now anybody else in. St. Cloud Cathedral, they've got a full team as well. And then you got the St. Cloud Icebreakers, and they're St. Cloud Tech, St. Cloud Apollo, and all those other schools in there as well. So really the only option for us was to go west. And they're looking for numbers out west. I did let people that were interested know that, again, we were providing merely the opportunity for them to play, and the fee schedule, it could be different for hockey. That's a very common thing for fees to be higher for hockey because of costs associated with that. And that would be in line with what we, looking at numbers, what we kind of contribute for our students on average, and also transportation. And the families were understanding of those points.
Tony?
Yep.
Superintendent Phelps here. Do you have any cost analysis yet? Because that's going to be key before the board decides to go for a number of students thinking about, I'm sure.
You're talking for the co-ops?
What was that?
For the co-ops?
Yes.
I talked with Scott Leeser, is the AD over in Long Prairie, and I asked him, what is the cost per participant for hockey? And their hockey association, kind of with Sauk Center, Melrose, that association, they kick in a lot of money and they subsidize. And the money, that number that jumps out to me is it's like $1,350 per participant is what it costs to play hockey. So what we would do is we would look at, okay, what does it cost our students to participate? And then we come up with a number. What is a comparable number for that?
What I'm asking is, what's it going to cost? Just a second, I'm going to turn off my mic.
What I'm asking is, what's it going to cost the school district, not the individual? Do we know that yet?
Well, typically, so what I do for wrestling is, and this is typically how co-op agreements work, is you get invoiced at the end of the year. So what I did for wrestling for the UPSLA is I took the percentage of participants from UPSLA versus the total, which happens to be about 15%. And so I added up transportation costs, hotel costs, travel costs, officials costs, everything associated with that, offset that with income, and then I sent them that bill, or Dawn sent them. I give it to Dawn, and then Dawn generated the agreement to send to them so that we get reimbursed for that. That is what they would do to us. Now, like I say, the per participant thing, I believe that Leeser said it was $1,350 per participant is what it costs them to have hockey. So whatever offset costs that we would decide, that's to be determined, but that's kind of what it would be in line with.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to present?
I don't have anything else, no.
Great. Ted Hanson, are you here?
I have not seen his name in our, by the way, we have 28 people watching tonight and listening. Why don't you move to the next one, which is Phil Gravata, I would recommend.
Dr. Gravata, you have the floor.
Am I up?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, I first wanted to mention the childcare, and that's going very well. And thank you to all the paras who have helped out. Holly Pasick and Lisa Tasto have got us organized and have been the supervisors. And then Don Hofstad has taken care of the scheduling and providing support. And they've all done a really good job. We are up to, it varies per day, but we have about 25 students of essential workers registered. And we're doing our best to keep the kids socially spaced apart. So one thing we did today, which was an idea that came from the paras, we moved desks into the cafeteria and created a large classroom in there. So that's where the students eat, spread apart from each other, and that's where they do their schoolwork online from their teachers or their learning packets. So we keep learning as we go, and they're doing the best they can and doing a really good job with all of that. The teachers are working very hard with distance learning. I've sat in on several of the classes, pre-recorded classes and class meetings, and it's been excellent. So they're working hard preparing lessons, following up with the students, and there's been some challenges. I heard from a dad who has a 10-hour job, comes home, and he has 2 children in the home. And I think it's working out better now, but he was just overwhelmed at the start of it and got pretty frustrated. But again, credit to our teacher who spent some time with him and got him going in the right direction. So he happened to be off for 2 weeks, so he spent those 2 weeks getting his kids all caught up. But I had another parent today of younger children who was really struggling with the technology. And I don't know that there was anything wrong with the devices, but just figuring out the technology and very frustrated with doing things, but not getting it back to the teacher to show it was done. So she's asked for learning materials. So I think particularly with younger children in the house, if the parents are away at work and then trying to come back after work and guide them, it's pretty challenging. So I think there's a lot of very positive things going on, and I think there are things we're adjusting to, and just plainly are challenging. We have teachers with their own children at home, so they're watching their children and trying to help them with lessons from their teachers while also trying to teach their students. So it gets stressful. People get a little worn. I think this May 1st and May 4th coming up, which are staff development planning days, no instruction to the students, is really needed, and that's going to help people catch their breaths a little bit. But just very pleased how everybody's working together as a team and working really hard. We have faculty meetings once a week over Google Meet, and so we get a chance to share and go over specific items, and there's been very good cooperation that way. So I feel really good about what we're doing, and I'm glad to be in a state like Minnesota that's more advanced with technology. And we had those 8 planning days where we could get ready. You know, talking to some people, it was boom, school was closed and they had to figure out the distance learning without any planning. Some other states. So I think we're fortunate to be in a fairly forward-looking state with our school district. So I guess basically that's the report for now.
Okay, thank you. Are there any
Yeah.
questions for Dr. Grabata? Moving on, secondary principal Joel Swenson, you have the floor.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I'd like to echo what Dr. Grabata said. Obviously at the high school, it's a little different with our teachers. A majority of them having well over 100 students a day, trying to connect with and build lessons for and individualize learning as much as possible. There's no doubt that it's a challenge. Not to mention when it's days like today, when it's 70 degrees outside, high school kids start finding other things to do. And so trying to keep our greatest challenge is keeping people connected here until the end of the day, until the end of the school year. We have seen the most success out of students who put together a plan where they tend to take care of their school materials right away and then move on for things during the day. I met with senior parents and seniors on Thursday evening to start discussing a graduation plan, and those continue to evolve. Right now, the plan looks like it would be centered on the football field with some sort of individualized mini ceremony, yet they'd all be together to be able to see each other graduate, yet maintaining social distancing with their families. They're obviously bummed about grad bash and prom. Those are casualties of the situation that we're in. But this group of kids is resilient, and they'll be fine, and they'll make it work. The teachers have been excellent. We have a group of paras that are providing access to students from 7 a.m. online until about 8 p.m. And they have it scheduled where someone is online if students need help with work that they are available for them. I am not only the administrator at the high school, but I'm also a parent who is involved with the distance learning as an elementary parent and a high school parent. And I have sat in on the classes. I've watched the materials that are being put out there. Teachers have invited me to be part of their Google Classroom. So for me, part of my day is going through their classes and through their stuff and through the things that they're presenting and observing it and taking a look at it. And I can honestly say that what we're doing right now, what we were doing the first week of distance learning was what I was hoping that the teachers would be able to do with this new technology by the end of the school year. And so I am just very impressed by, now I'm not saying that there isn't accessibility problems or there's scheduling things or technology challenges, but the things that are out there I have found that are somewhat easy to navigate and are pretty straightforward in terms of, we've tried to keep it as clear cut and straightforward as we possibly can. And the challenges that teachers are feeling, especially in classes where the students are going to move on to the next school year and need the skills in a certain class to be able to be successful in those classes, is to really prioritize the standards that they are working on and working from now until the end of the year to make sure that they hit the big ones. There's no doubt next fall, in whatever format of school that we were in, and hopefully we're back to regular business, but there's no doubt that we're going to have to spiral back and revisit standards, especially in the last 3 months, to reinforce that learning so students can move forward successfully in the classes that they are taking in 2021. We will continue to meet with seniors and parents over the next few weeks to make sure that they have the information and the input that they need and deserve for graduation. And that is pretty much what has, I got to tell you, the discipline that we talked about in the February board meeting there's been an amazing drop in the number of discipline incidents that cross my desk during the day. So there's some of that that is it's a good thing. But the thing that I realized as I stopped at Bill's one day, and there was a couple students in there working, and for me, I just realized how much I miss the kids being here. There's not a person in this building or at the elementary school that I've talked to, and I'm sure Dr. Gravata would agree with this. There's not a staff member in this building, from a cook to bus drivers to teachers, that wouldn't take the kids back tomorrow morning if you let us have them. This is not the way that I had a teacher say to me, I didn't sign up for this kind of thing. I like working with people and I like working with kids. And so I'm encouraged by that, because we'll accomplish the mission for this year. We'll accomplish what we need to do distance learning wise, but the real goal and the real magic that happens with education is a good teacher with kids in a classroom. And so as soon as we can get back to that, I think that is I'm hoping that is sooner rather than later, but we will make do with what we have, and we will continue to do what we need to do to provide what we can for students. That's all I got.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Paul?
Mary Lang. Mr. Swenson, do you think this will increase more homeschooling of students with distance learning, or do people really want to get back to class?
Can someone give me I did not catch that.
Can you say it a little louder?
I said, do you think that distance learning will increase our homeschooled students markedly compared to what we have in the past?
From the things I see on Facebook, I don't think we're in danger of increasing homeschooling. Do I think it changes education in the tools that we use that may, I think that you'll see flipping classrooms in the future where you might have a kid look at a lecture piece in the evening as their homework. And when you come back to school, then the teachers and the kids work on the work, do the work together, as opposed to what we do here is we present here, send homework home with kids, and kids and parents get lost and don't know how to help each other. I think this challenge of distance learning will open doors for those types of things, especially in classes like math and high level math classes where it is so important to have the teacher be present when the students are working on things. So I think there's going to be some changes that way. It's not homeschooling, but I think it's going to change the way home and school interact with each other.
Thank you.
How's the attendance been since we started this? The average daily attendance?
I think Mr. Gerard is asking about attendance.
Yes, what's the average daily attendance time?
We have been averaging somewhere between 90, 95, at as high as 95%. Some days has been 87, 88. There's always a lag in the catching up on it because you have students who forget to log in, but their parents call and say, hey, they were working, or we know that they were working because they turned in the work or the assignments that they were supposed to have done. So there's a little bit of a lag in terms of catching those numbers up, but the attendance is not drastically different from what we experience when the students are present in the building.
I'll add to that. I think attendance has been really good, and we've worked hard to keep things as normal as far as attendance as we can. And most people have been good. And it's been a little frustrating. We have had a small percentage of parents who haven't been as responsible, and we've had to keep working with them. We make it very easy for people to check in for attendance. You simply send an email or make a phone call. And like I said, 95% of the parents are great, but we have 5% where it gets pretty frustrating. We've had to send letters out, and some of those numbers are creeping up to the point we're thinking of doing some wellness checks, or at some point contacting social services. So that part, similar as the school year, gets a little frustrating because we try to make things as easy as we can for people, and some still don't take even that small step. So that part, not that surprising, but it's not necessary either. But I don't want that to color the great majority of people, like Joel said, about 95%, that really do very responsible and very good to work with.
So, hi, this is Director Garrett. This question's probably more for Don. So is the state still going to look at reimbursing us per pupil with this, or haven't they addressed that yet? Don, your voice carries all the way across.
So far, the executive order says none of our funding streams will be, for this year, there will be any hiccups in that. I haven't seen any so far. It's gonna be next year when we're gonna see some of that, some of our levy dollars, and that's what I was gonna talk about in my report, but the governor has promised, as much as that is, that so far we will not see any hiccups or stalling and in any aid payments.
But attendance, let's say we would get a poor attendance, that would affect our dollars that we receive from the state. So I guess it is important that we get students logging in to make sure that does definitely impact us financially as well, correct?
That is 100%. That was my biggest fear coming into distance learning, was the attendance, because that's 99.9% of our funding on our APUs is our attendance records. So if they're not logging in and we're not getting attendance, we're not getting the dollars. We are real time on the aid money we get from the state is real time money.
Thank you.
there any other questions? Joel? Okay, moving on, business managers report.
I'm gonna keep this really short because it's, it can be a long meeting to begin with all this virtualism. The three things I want to talk about is revising budget. I had sent a revision to our finance committee and the director Garrett as the treasurer. Since distance learning has come into the picture, I have been revising, so we will have different numbers. The biggest impact, we will save some dollars that are not salary related because the governor has said how we're going to do it. We have to pay our employees in the general fund, which is our fund one, which is our operating fund, whether they are here or not. So whether they are at home or here, we are paying them, so nothing has changed in that parameter. But there are going to be a little bit of savings, hopefully in transportation. We're gonna, Tony has cut down some of the electrical and air handlers, so I should see some savings in electric heat. Not real substantial, but we will see some savings. So I have a new revised budget that I will be sending out tomorrow to the finance committee and Director Garrison for the whole board. And I encourage you to call me or email me with questions. I would like to do a virtual. At some point, we really have to have this budget revised by the May meeting. It has to be on the docket for us to revise it. Our biggest impact is going to be our food service fund. Obviously, we were right on the cusp of deficit spending for this year in the food service fund, and with not having many reimbursable meals, we will show about. I'm projecting between $20,000 and $35,000 deficit spending. We still do have money in our fund balance, but I'm not sure how that's going to look if the MDE is going to make me transfer funds to cover that. Just remember, we have to serve lunches to make money, and our summer food program has gone well, except we're only serving 550 to 570 kids a day, so we're not getting that 950 meal count that we normally would get. So there is some adverse impact on our food service fund and our community ed fund. Obviously, we are still doing distance learning in our preschool. They're asking for refunds now, so we are initiating a refund on any preschool services that has stopped and they want the refund. So that's going to show some impact also. So I am working on that. You'll have those tomorrow. And obviously the other thing that's going to hit us maybe next year is we levy a year in advance, and property taxes due in May. We're not guaranteed to get all our property tax dollars with everything going on. Morrison County is our majority. They have put out a bulletin saying your property tax is still applicable. I just don't know how many people are going to not pay it. There's no recourse for us. So I am being very conservative. Next year's budget, we really have to look at the impact on that because we are not guaranteed 100% aid dollars or levy dollars. So just keep that in mind when we're looking at forecasting for next year.
Dave, is there any way we can move that computer over to whoever's speaking in the room? Because I see the comments are that people still can't hear people talking in the room.
I can try.
He'll be running all over
We
my
need your card,
monitor.
please. We
Right.
need your card.
So I will be, this is the last thing I'm going to say about budget unless there's questions. I'll be getting that out tomorrow. I encourage feedback from the board. Any questions, so we can get them answered, so we get that on the docket for the next board meeting, so I can move into an adopted budget for June. We have to obviously adopt the budget for next year for June. So those are the high points I'm going to get on tonight.
I have a question.
Right?
What happens with all your inventory in the food service?
You know, the beautiful thing about that is we didn't have a lot of inventory going into this. We spent down all our inventory. So basically we have commodity meats that we're using, and we are ordering the big grab and go things that we have to provide these reimbursable meals to the but our inventory is low, so we should have a really good outcome when the auditors come to do it.
You got a lot of refrigerator space? I know there's a whole lot of hogs we could slaughter. We'd be good in there.
Unless they're stamped USDA, then they're not allowed in the freezer.
I'll snap them.
Is there any questions?
Yes.
John, what is our student count at right now?
We're at 940 actual students, so about 1,039 APUs today. That's gonna change with March. Our special ed numbers aren't in. Keep in mind, I budgeted for 1,033 because you just don't know if all the PSEO numbers are in. So I just want to give myself just a little bit of leeway. For me doing that, there's about $33,000, which for me is not a lot of room in our budget, but if we end the year at 1,039, that'll give us an additional $33,000. And now remember, there's some special ed dollars that could possibly be hanging out there, but right now we're at actually 940 kids actual.
Because I think we were using a budget of 1,050 for a while.
No, I never budgeted for 1,050.
Okay.
No, it was always 1,030 or 1,033.
Okay.
I think when I adopted, it was 1,030 when I adopted the budget. When we didn't adopt it, then I did increase it by 3. But we are truly, when I got my last March 15 report, it was 1,039. But that could go down with some PSEO or go up with special ed. So we're always hanging on to that year-end real-time thing.
Have we had any students moving in this time of distance learning?
No, but not that I'm aware of now. But in January, we lost 17 students from January to March. We lost some elementary families, so.
I was just wondering, because we're a one device per kid's school, and there's some schools that are really close that don't have that. I wonder if maybe we had some people moving there. That's something you might expect if we have to open in the fall and not be open.
Exactly. So it's a hard time to budget with this distance learning because you don't know. They have to enroll somewhere. Unless they're gonna, even in homeschool, they have to enroll somewhere.
Okay. Any other questions for Don? Oh, yes.
Sorry, Randy, one more question for Don. So the food service is gonna be in deficit because we're being asked to deliver those meals to the students, but we aren't getting reimbursed for them, correct? Or as far as we know?
We are getting reimbursement, but we are only delivering half the meals that we have in our population. So we have 940 kids. We're only delivering between, sometimes it's 532. When we first started, it was 80. You know, the first 3 weeks, it was 80 meals. It was like hardly any reimbursement. Now we're up in between that 550 and 570. So we are getting a little more reimbursement, but that hit food service hard.
So why? So I would assume that, you know, at first we would take a hit, right, because we had food ordered, right, and we wouldn't, you know, right. I mean, you're prepared for food that's in, you know, to serve here in school. Why would we continue to be running deficit, right? Couldn't we? Because we still have to order food. We still have food and costs that we're incurring. We're still spending between $500 and $700 every a week and a half.
Is the labor in that number?
That's just food. That's just sandwiches, and we have to make it a reimbursable meal. Otherwise, we cannot claim it. So we're still incurring food costs plus labor, and we're not getting as much reimbursement. And when I had first revised food service without all this, we were very close to deficit spending.
So sorry, I'm struggling a little bit. So wouldn't the prep time be less, and also then wouldn't you order less food? I mean, I could see it still going down, but I don't know, it seems like a lot.
We have to pay our food service whether they're here or not. They still get paid for 8 hours a day.
Yep, okay.
So that's executive order from the governor.
Your business is half full. It's like every other business in the state of Minnesota.
We're still incurring those costs. I will say we have moved into a little bit of a different direction that I don't really want to discuss at open board meeting right now, that I'd rather discuss in our finance committee until we discuss it as a committee. But we could save a little bit of money, and there might be some grants out there that I've applied. I did apply for one food service grant. So that might come through, but I'm not guaranteed anything.
Thank you.
All right, do you have anything else or any other questions? Moving on, Superintendent Phelps, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. The first thing I have to do is thank the staff, all of them. I mean, you look at David here tonight, he was in here early working, trying to make sure everything works. Those people, all three of them in that department are working hard, the custodians. They're taking care of all the little things that they never get a chance to get to, and they're doing a great job with it. I mentioned about the stage before. Our teachers, I know talking to one teacher who said, man, I've never had so many emails in a day. And that is on top of everything else. Early, you would expect a lot, and as time goes on, it goes down, but still, they're trying to connect with as many kids. Our main office people, they're doing a great job. Our nurses are making sure we're on hand, passing on information and doing everything. And the cooks are there, the transportation for them, they're going out. We've cut down how many days, which does help us save some money in the actual transportation costs of the buses and vehicles that are traveling out there. And that's partly due to Dawn's foresight in looking at that, which controls somewhat of the food that we can do. So she's done a great job on that. Susan obviously is here tonight, and so is everyone else. I can't say enough about our paras though. If you think about it, they're taking care of these children. They don't know what they're bringing into them. Just like so many other things, for example, face masks. We can't get those face masks in. We've had some ordered actually in February. They're still not in. One of the problems that's going on right now, just like the hot spots, is people are saying, hey, I'll give you more money to purchase them, and they don't come in. Do I have fact on that? No, but when you're promised that things are going to be in the first week in March, they're still not in at the end of April, there's something going on, and they had plenty of stock early on that. And again, it was brought up about Lisa Tasto and Holly Piesick. They've done a great job monitoring, adjusting, and helping. And if you could have seen the first few days that the kids were in versus now, that they've done so many good things when the kids come in there. And I can't say enough about everybody on our staff. It's not all there. So I thank them all, and I appreciate everything they've done for it. And they have families, and they have to go back to them and help them learn as well. Evaluation, I put out a note today. We put together an evaluation because as we expanded, as the governor expanded us into another month into the end of school, we need to know what we can do better. And I put out an evaluation to the parents and let us know. This is purely to help us understand how things are working out, what we can adjust. And that's what we always want to do. We want to continually to improve forward. And I want to thank both principals and Joy Mooney for helping us put that together and get that out as well. The final thing, moving as fast as I can, is I think at this time, the policy reading, the first reading we should put off. I've talked to each one of the committee members. They're good with that because we have some new items. So we'll put it together. It won't matter because we can get 3 of those in before we're opening up the facility. But we still need to have that discussion tonight on the fees. That's separate from the policy. That's something we review or should be reviewing every year unless we're not going to change. Any questions for me? I yield the floor.
All right. Moving on. Now we're gonna skip this first reading of the policy. We kind of already talked about them. Let's move right into the discussion and information items. Continued discussion tabled spring coaches. You want to speak to that, John?
Yeah, we have a number of spring coaches, Tony. If you have something to say, please come on board, and David will watch for you. They're the head coaches. They shouldn't be brought up for reappropriation. That should have been, if you're going to get rid of them, you should have talked to them earlier. So those are automatic renewal on there. It's assistant coaches and where we go with that. And there are different ones. You've all got the scorecard that has all those different individuals on. If they were a head coach, though, they should be on the list unless we are going to remove them much earlier than this. So with that, you wanted to talk about hiring them or not hiring them. Track had started, baseball had started, softball had started already. I believe they were done with their first week when we stopped, and we were ready to start the second week. So I open that up for discussion. What would you like to do with them?
Are you talking about the list of hires?
Well, there was some openings.
Hires and renewals, yes.
If we remember, there was 4 or 5 openings when we approved the list. So it's those 4 or 5. And I know, yeah, you got that. I know last time we talked about it, well, what if there's not a season?
Yeah, we tabled it because we didn't know if the season was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I have just a little input here, just if it's all right. So the only one that really was hired like maybe the week before we were let out was Lanners, Zach Lanners. Otherwise, like Jacob Andrews, who's on there, he was hired. I met with him Tuesday, the first day of practice, first day of track practice, and he's a Piers boy. Interviewed him, talked to him, went through the process, and he then he started. He was prepping already, and to pass his background check and everything. Otherwise, everybody else is a holdover from last year that hadn't been approved already.
And again, I'll say the head coaches don't have to be. What you'd have to do is remove them if that was the case.
These are the coaches, are they on contract or are
These-
these off-site coaches?
Some are on contract, some are off-site coaches.
I will just speak to that, if you guys don't mind. The teachers on contract positions, because it speaks to Schedule C and it's tied to their contract, there's not a lot of recourse. But the off-site, I would, my recommendation would to be prorate the pay. I know that Tony had reiterated that 60% of the schools were paying their coaches in full. Because I'm financially conscious, I just want to put that out there for discussion, but whatever the board decides is how we'll go.
I guess my input to that would be, I hired 2 head coaches, 2 co-head coaches for track that aren't in the district for teachers. And they put in hours and they did the head coaches training, and upwards of head coaches put in hundreds of hours before the season even begins. So it's not like they're sitting on their hands doing nothing. Same thing with trap. I mean, I was talking with Tyler constantly and Jake and Wentland, and they're putting in the time. I don't think the time. We have to do what's right, to be honest with you, and whether teacher or not, we're sending that right message to our coaches, I think, in my opinion.
I think we need to,
What's that?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I think we ought to do what's fair, and you pay someone to not have a season doesn't seem fair to the taxpayers, but to not pay them for work they haven't done, that doesn't seem fair to the employees. So I think kind of go along with what Don recommended is prorate it for what they've already done until the season was canceled last Thursday. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Last Thursday was the Thursday at the end of the day was the time. Yep.
So we're not having a season. We're not having a track season or a baseball season. from last.
They are officially canceled.
It's done. So I think we ought to prorate them and pay them for what they've done. But we're not having baseball or track this year. And you can keep them busy doing like introspective type things. I don't want to see new people when you know the season is canceled. But I do see paying them for what they've already done. That's just my.
Chair Mary Lang, I agree that we should pay consolidated. However, I think we really need to look at, these people have apparently been hired for approval. And that scares me. I think that you're kind of putting the cart before the horse, Tony, when you hire these people. I know you do because you know they're good. They're great kids. I know that. However, when something like this happens and we're all kind of going, oh my goodness, why are we paying people for not doing the job they really were hired to do? So I agree with you, Noel, and that it should be prorated to a point of and good common sense. But I really would hope we learn something from this, that we just don't go home. We actually know it's going to be a season. I think that you're absolutely right, Mr. Director. So really, that's why we're getting people to not do it. Because we just don't have a program. Thank you.
I think we're on chartered water, and I think we should approve these coaches and prorate all spring coaches, because this is just half of those spring coaches here. We approved it like this a month before. So my opinion is we to approve this list. I think I have a motion on the table. Table. Director Phelps.
Superintendent, that's all right. Yes, with this, I do have to answer one thing. Why aren't the names up there earlier before the season starts? It is hard to find assistant coaches. And you try to start the season, but you don't have people aligned yet or brought in. And just so you know, Mary, I'm talking loud so I can be heard on the thing. I'm upset.
It's okay if you're scolding me.
So that's the problem. This is something we've gone through before on a number of times. We're looking, all of a sudden somebody says, hey, I'll do it, and that's where it's coming from. For what my work is, I agree, we approve the ones that are there. Otherwise, next time, we might not be able to find anybody, and we are an uncharted one.
I have a question for, I don't know, for everybody to think about. So, the way I understand it, if one of these coaches is a teacher, we're gonna have to pay them all. Within their contract, and the governor's order says that we have to go on. I don't like that two-tier thing at all, where if you're a teacher, you're gonna get paid, and if you're not a teacher, well then you're gonna get prorated. I don't like that at all. I don't like it any more than you do, the idea of paying somebody for not doing a job, but I don't like that two-tier thing a whole lot more than I don't like that. So, and if I've learned anything about school board, it's making the better choice than the bad one. So, Don, do you have something to, am I right on that?
I agree with you. I'm saying that mine is purely financial. We don't know what next year's gonna bring. So when I say this, I empathize with those coaches. It's nothing personal.
That's what you're here for.
I'm here on that totally. I'm
understand
the
that.
money train right now,
Yeah.
and I need to guard that because I don't know what the future's gonna bring.
Russ.
So, Director Garrett, so basically what Randy stated about teachers, if they're a teacher under contract, they will get paid in full, right? There's no way to prorate that, right? It would just be the ones that are off con or not teachers, right, that we pulled out of the district. Do we know that answer?
I do not, professionally, I cannot tell you that because We've never ever been in this position before. I would say we would be grieved if we prorated the teachers. The union would.
Who do you think's gonna win? I know.
I guess, so this is Director Garrett again. I definitely, I understand both sides, but I think to Director Hackett's point, I think to keep everything on the up and up, I think we need to pay everybody. I guess I would support hiring these and paying them what we contracted.
I have a point of order to ask the board. This is not on the agenda.
Louder, please.
This is not on the agenda. And we have to schedule a meeting.
This is a discussion.
Yeah, it's under discussion, not action. So
Yeah, this is just discussion. We're not paying these people to the end of May. So you got time to think about it.
So we would then assume this will be on the May.
How we're gonna pay them, yes.
Okay.
Or how much we're gonna pay them.
Could we get maybe a clarification on that somehow, whether a teacher under the contract, could they be prorated or not? Yes, Don.
You mean for the contract of the teachers? Or
Yeah.
That would be something we'd have to clarify with legal counsel. However, there is a question from a community teacher, our teacher, wondering how do we measure how much work they've done? And I think, to answer that, I think that would have to come from Tony Newman, because I was hoping they were keeping logs and calendars, and that's how we measure that, but I think Tony Newman would have to speak to that.
So the calendars, I mean, you're thinking you want them to look back to how many hours they put in or what they normally have done?
The question was, how do you gauge how much they've already done? How do you gauge that? That was the question that came through.
That's a fair question.
Very fair.
Mr. Chair? Yes. I just assumed it was canceled last Thursday, so they would get paid for last Thursday. That's what I assumed the prorating would be.
Yeah.
That's what I had.
Once season's canceled, everything is kind of relaxed. It's not like they're gonna keep going.
But you understand my argument.
I do.
Yeah.
Because we can prorate them and we're gonna end up paying them. And then the people that were not under the teacher contract, all of a sudden, they didn't get paid either, and they're not gonna be able to grieve it.
I'd say prorate them all.
Well, once the season's over, it's over, correct?
Well, the other question too, what constitutes the season, right? So I don't know, so if they go, let's say the expectation going to the playoffs, is that when it stops, or does it stop at the last?
The last regular game of
Last
that,
regular.
that's generally how we've always logged all our hours. It's from first day of practice. And Tony Newman's right. They do put a lot of hours in. I'm not gonna, I've been a coach. It's way more than you actually log in a gym. But yeah, I see, I'm putting out there because I'm, like I said, the financial wheel here, and I'm concerned. But I also want to be fair.
I'd like to just make a statement to the public from the board that these are decisions that we've never been faced with before. And
It's not an excuse to make it bad.
no, it's not an excuse to make a bad one, but we probably need some input on this, and we won't be voting on it tonight, but if you're listening to this and have input, please get to the board. So, all right, we're gonna move on in the interest of time. All right, co-op resolution for girls swimming and girls hockey. Tony, did you want to speak to that again?
Sure. So really what we're doing is providing the opportunity for these kids to participate. We do have currently, as we stand, one more male sport than female sport. And really it comes down to participation numbers anyways. But there has been some asking by students and families about different offerings. And the two that have come up is girls swimming and girls hockey. And like I said, I've canvassed the area for girls hockey and boys hockey to see what's around. And really the one that's the most accepting and most logical or accepting is at Long Prairie, Gray Eagle, Browerville, Sauk Center, and Wadena Deer Creek. And Long Prairie is that host school. So that those participants in girls hockey would be transported by parents at this point. And then as far as the fee, we'd have to determine what's fair to charge families versus the cost of the program. Girls swimming, again, that's a fall sport. We only have cross country and volleyball. Girls swimming is, like I say, a fall sport, and Little Falls is the host. Pillager is paired with them as well. I don't know how many people Pillager provides the program, but when I sat down with Kevin Jordan, mid-February, I sat down with him and we talked, and that was something that he had, hey, what do you think about swimming? So I look back to the student interest surveys that Brent had done 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and swimming was a common one. You know, there was a good number of female input that swimming would be an option if it's provided. So again, we're just really providing those opportunities for kids to participate, and that's kind of what we want to do is increase participation. We have a good, healthy number of participants in our buildings, but we're always looking to expand those to make sure that student interests are served.
Okay. We have a resolution that we'll be voting on later it's not the final resolution, it's for him to negotiate it the way I understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, so what has to happen is you guys need to just sign the resolution. It then goes to the other schools, cooperating schools. So let's just say it's girls swimming, it goes to Little Falls, and then to Pillager. And what they have to do is they have to dissolve their current co-op and then sign the new co-op saying they're going to enter into agreement with a new co-op. And at that point, once those three are done, that gets sent to the state, that's logged, that's filed, and then that, just like we have for wrestling, that agreement form that gets approved every year for a cooperative, that gets, whether it's approved or denied by the school board. And that agreement probably isn't going to change much. I wouldn't expect names to change with anything that in some of these, the gymnasiums, the pools, the arenas are decked out with, the Long Prairie, Gray Eagle, Browerville, Sauk Center, Wadena Deer Creek. I mean, they have their logos, and so I wouldn't expect those things to change. The name recognition and the programs through the high school league, that would be reflected with us as well. But yes, this is merely just entering into the preliminary stages to get it filed at the high school league so that we can do that co-op resolution.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Newman, do you have any idea what the cost is to conjoin with these school systems?
It doesn't cost anything for us to join with them. So really what you do is you add up all the costs associated with a given year, and then the percentage of your participants is divvied up, and then the school receives that bill. And so that's kind of how those financials kind of shake out. It can change year to year. Ice time, whether it's more expensive, less expensive, more in demand, less in demand, those are variable costs that are associated. You know, you have cancellations, you have snow outs. Costs are going to be less in a given year versus more. But as far as, you know, like girls swimming, I don't think it's going to be really any more than what we currently incur for costs for our student participants.
Also, Mr. Neiman, have you had many students who are interested in both of these sports?
Different families are interested. It's just they had brought to my attention those opportunities that they'd like to participate in.
Thank you.
Superintendent Phelps.
Yes, again, this is just to move us forward into the process. The real thing will come when it's time to make a decision and sign a contract. So if we don't like the cost that's been out there, it gives them time, but they really can't do much before this time.
And in the high school,
then it's a 2-year commitment, isn't
yes.
it?
Correct. The high school league wants you to endure that cooperative for at least 2 years.
All right. Everybody good with this?
Where is the ACE? Where would the kids be practicing?
They would be practicing and competing most times in Long Prairie. Transportation for hockey, particularly. I did tell that one family that was very, very interested in it, that again, we're providing the opportunity for them to participate. So as far as transportation, they would need to transport her to practices and to games, and they understood. Some of it's a comfort thing of being in somebody else's vehicle or whatnot. You know, it's so Upsala hires a van driver to drive the kids from Upsala over, stay there for practice, and then drive the Upsala kids back for wrestling every day. That's not something that we would be looking to do given the distance. And that family was receptive to that, understanding that, hey, we understand that there's higher incurred costs for hockey, but so they understood that.
All right. We're gonna move on. Sorry. All right. Policies 430 and 431. We're gonna skip them and let the policy committee work on them some more. But let's look at the facility fee changes on the 902 for policy 902. John, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, these were some costs that we looked at initially, talking about whether we bring people on from outside the school district or not, to allow them to participate in our fitness center. There was one other piece that we wanted to take a look at, and that was the aerobic center, because we're starting to have people ask about they would like to use the aerobic center. And so we said, what do we charge for a fee there? So you'll see both of those on there, and I sent this out to the board, I believe it was last week, and brought it up again the week before. They also suggested or talked about a family monthly rate, which they're looking at, but truly what this is about is discussion. And right now, where the discussion was to allow non-residents to participate at a higher cost, because they're not paying initially. They didn't pay for building it. They didn't pay for putting in the whole facility and everything it takes. And the other part to that is we have to take a look also in that the wear of the equipment and how fast it's worn down. And if all of a sudden we have greater use, that becomes a problem. And with those thoughts that was put out there for our community, they need to understand that right now at the rate that we're paying, we cannot cover the cost of replacement of the different aerobic machines we have and maintenance of the machines, not the free weights, because free weights take very little. The students do not use the aerobic machines nearly as much as the community does. And we've talked a little about that those machines in there, it's okay, the public paid for it initially, but the people that are using it need to pay for it.
I've been thinking about this policy a lot since our policy committee meeting. And there's a couple things that really jump out to me. One is with this COVID thing going on and everybody, the distancing, all of a sudden it brings my mind to the forefront, the having the responsible adults in the building isn't a bad thing. You know, having these good role models for the kids isn't a bad thing in here. Another thing is if the fees get to be a lot and this is something that happens, then all of a sudden there's reimbursements and administrating all that, and pretty soon you're gonna have more than administrating it than what you're bringing in. And the other thing was in that fee schedule, we have fee schedules for fields and gyms. Are we going to have a separate fee schedule for non-resident people to rent the gym than we do rent? You know, where is our, I really think, I might be really off here, but I really think if we just kept with the nominal fee, and probably a little bit higher fee for somebody out of the district, and when them machines wear out, we go out and we look for donations from the local businesses and stuff. I don't know. I'm afraid that we're going to end up with as much money into administrating it. We have 200 fobs out. So, I mean, those machines, I don't know what they cost, but if you're expecting 200 fobs to cover it, I don't know if it's ever going to cover it. I don't know. That's just my thinking out loud. That I'm just really wondering if we're really going to be any further ahead at the end of the day or not. So, Russ.
Hi, Director Garrett. So 2 questions. I think one's going to be for Don, and apparently I have a lot of Don questions tonight. So, right, we talked about we didn't have a dedicated fund for the fitness center, right? I'm assuming now we are now taking the money from renewals and putting it and keeping it away and say, okay, that goes for the fitness center?
Yes, as of July 1st, as of this past July 1st.
Okay.
We have a dedicated revenue and expense fund for the fitness center.
Okay, then the second question, I guess, from the policy meeting, I saw you guys had a discussion about, so my understanding with the new schedule, kind of going to what Randy was talking about. So currently, I believe if somebody has children that open enroll in the district, they would move over to the non-resident fee, correct? Unless, of course, unless they had land or paying taxes in the district, right? So I know we do have quite a few people that do open enroll. I know that we'll hear some feedback on that, you know, right? Because right now they're paying the same rate as everybody else, but I guess now we'll be introducing a new rate. So, and I know you guys had extensive talks about that in the policy meeting, and I agree with most everything you guys said during that too. I just know that we'll probably brace for some of that, and we may lose some, but I do think still the amounts that you guys propose or what were being proposed still are reasonable and still probably cheaper than what they could get if they went to Little Falls or to St. Cloud or Rice or wherever. So
I don't disagree with any of that. I just,
yeah,
these are the questions that I really have about it. So
I gotta think a new treadmill must cost what, 10 grand?
A commercial treadmill is $8,900, and that's without any of the hookup. So right now we have just enough to buy one for the whole year. I mean, so putting it in perspective, it should be a moneymaker for community ed. It's not.
Oh, Ellie, I'm sorry you're so far away. I can't see you there.
Director Holman here. And I know we had brought that up last time too with, you know, one thing we got to take into consideration is the more people we get in, quicker the equipment's gonna wear out. You know, I mean, I totally understand that it needs to suffice itself with its income, but those are things we gotta think of too. And when I look, and I know with the initial fitness center, you know, it was proposed to the taxpayers that it would be free for forever, I guess. I feel like the rates are super cheap, both for resident and non-resident. I guess in all reality, even as a taxpayer myself in the district, you know, you usually get sold on something and it can change, you know, so I would be, that non-resident fee to me is low, for sure. I mean, if we compare it to any, I know like the convent up in Little Falls, you know, I think that's 40 to 45 a month. So, you know, it's something we can think about just to incur some more money in those, you know, in the fund to fix the equipment.
John, you have
Just a quick, I agree, I did cost comparisons with St. Franciscan.
Yeah, St.
Franciscan. Anytime Fitness and Snap, both directions, and we are very, I mean, obviously a lot lower. And just keep in mind, we still incur all the liability also, so there are additional expenses, liability and custodial and upkeep on the equipment and the floor. Not that the floor should wear out anytime soon, but I mean, I do have all those costs, comparative costs, so it would be nice to generate a little bit of revenue.
Yes.
I do like the recommendations from the committee. You know, this doesn't mean that this would be the last time there'd be an increase. You know, you can't increase it triple in 1 year or 10 times in 1 year. But we could do this recommendation and then next year look at it again.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gerard.
It came up in the committee, the question was asked, why do military bases have fitness centers? Why can't use them? And it didn't, I knew it was apples and oranges, but what really occurred to me was physical fitness is a condition of employment. And if they don't pass the physical fitness test, they're separated. So that's a huge difference between, you know, that's like saying we require you to have a phone. Okay, we're going to give you a phone, but we don't require physical fitness level of the employees here. So I think that's a huge difference, you know, as far as.
There was another thing that was brought up in was whether the teachers are able to use it without purchasing a membership. You guys see the letter from the lawyer that John got?
No, they have not.
I think it was all staff, not just teachers.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, it's all staff.
All staff, okay. All staff. Well, here,
I wouldn't bring it up now, I would save it for the policy meeting.
All right, we just.
So, to
right.
save time, because I don't think we're acting on this tonight either.
No, we're not. So.
Actually, I think it is on there.
It is, but what I'm saying is, I don't think we have enough, we need to make different decisions, we've got more input to work with. That's how I would look at it.
Well,
Oh, Lord.
I don't know, I feel like something's not being said here.
I contacted the lawyer to find out what would happen if we took away something, which I mentioned before, that our staff has already been given. He said that's not a good idea until the next time we work on a contract and then we put it out. Otherwise, you're going to get grief, and you want to know how that comes out. He says very slim chance that you would win that. I just got that early.
Our fitness center policy right now says that annually we will reconsider the fees, right?
But your policy cannot overdo where we are with the contract.
We don't have a contract, it's not in their contract.
It is past practice for 3 years. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I put it to the lawyer. If you don't want to listen to the lawyer, then that's up to you guys.
So anyhow, that was what came out of the policy committee was that anybody that is a non-resident taxpayer was to have to purchase a fob. And John went and contracted the lawyer, and John, do you have that letter? I have it here, buddy.
Yeah, you want me to read it?
Yeah, you read it. I have it.
I did not have it when we had it. That's why I want to save it for the policy meeting to bring up. But basically, that's all it said. I'll call it and read it if you want. And again, I have to emphasize, I raise my voice so I can be heard, not to scold or anything. Whatever the board decides to do, let me see if I can call it up. Is there any other discussion?
Did you send a letter to all of us? Or?
No, I shared it with the board chair when I got it last week, at the end of last week. I didn't think it was appropriate to put it out to the public in a board briefing.
Again, I think that's why I would have rather seen it in the policy committee meeting before.
Correct.
Before it came to a.
So are we not ready to vote on this?
That's what I'm saying.
Some of the administration's recommendations is?
But that is our recommendation.
I make a motion to table this.
Thank you.
Well, we're not here.
Well, we're just on discussion. We're on discussion. But let's move on. We got enough. Distance learning. John, you want to?
I'm sorry, distance learning, I think we've had enough reports on it so far. I put that in before the governor made his decision. But we've heard from both principals and myself tonight. Are there any questions more on distance learning?
No.
I think I'll have a good report for you, and as soon as we get information, we're going to pump it out to our teachers so they can make any adjustments they need to. And then we'll certainly pump that information, as we find the bumps in the road and try to flatten them out.
So, are you guys starting to formulate a plan for next fall yet?
We have started to formulate a plan for next fall. The problem is knowing what next fall would be like. And so we have to go from full attendance at school. How are we going to change how we run the school? And I've asked that of different groups right now, and then to our, right now, what we call our response group. I put that out today for them, and we talked about it a little bit in our meetings, and then we'll open it up to everybody else. But we wanted to start that discussion. So all the way, how do we run it? Do we alternate days for people being home? What's the problem with that? So maybe you do the odd grades one day and the even grades the next, so you can distance. One of the problems is you can't distance in all of our classrooms. Some of it you can, but others you can't. So you can't be that full 6 feet. So how do you run that? What does it look like? Those are the things we got to talk. Do we make our hallways one way if we still have a problem? In schools, we know are an incubator for disease of all types. If one person gets to school, brings it to school, it's usually spread and it's taken home. Not everyone will get it because their immune system's pretty good. But if you bring it here, there's a pretty good chance everybody will be infected. So what do? One of the things that we're talking about is you put the square things on, like when you're in a hospital room. Does everyone wear a mask in the high school? It doesn't work real good down in the kindergarten. Those are things that we're looking at. Do we spread out our lunch days? So we interrupt classes several times so we don't have, 200 kids in the lunchroom or 400 kids. Those are the things that we have to talk about. And we'll put it out to the public as we go on and we learn more, because right now, we don't know where we're at. That's why things change so quickly right now, is seriously, one day you have one bit of evidence, and then the next day you get another, and we have to change our direction.
Are there any other questions on distance learning? I have one. And I don't know if this is the right place or anything, but have the discussions been started to have with what happens with when a student fails?
We are waiting for direction from the state on that one. That's been a question that's put out in several different formats. Not
I
just
can imagine when we get back to having public in a board meeting, that we could have 150 people that are really upset that, that the school failed them under these circumstances.
Yes,
So-
and that is something that is being talked about and discussed. What I don't want to do and what we shouldn't do is speculate and then put out a policy by our principals what to do. One of our problems is, which I shared with you in the board briefing last week, is one of the problems is where are our universities with this? Right now, they consider a pass-fail. If you get a P for pass, that is a fail to them. They do not give the credit. That one was something I did in some research earlier. So what will they accept? That's one thing this whole setup has done. It's made us look at things completely different than we did before.
All right, moving on, discussion items, Marty Brash, tech ed resignation.
And that one comes to me again. Marty would like to do the same thing that Randy Tilges did, in that he wants to retire at the end of this school year. He's willing to let that open up and understand other people can apply, but he will also be applying. And I doubt personally that we will have anybody with his background, his knowledge, and Marty's a great teacher, just like Randy is. But I wanted to alert you to that. And that's what he's looking for. So we'll run it. If we have people apply for it that are qualified to the different parts, we'll interview them, and then we'll have to make a decision. A light of that is he gets to collect his retirement, but he starts at the 0 step with whatever education he's got. That's correct, isn't it, Don?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's the same thing Randy did. So Marty's kind of at the top of the scale, if not at the top of steps.
Oh, he's definitely at his top step right now. I mean, he is at the top. He will drop to, it will say the same.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
you have a question, yes.
Okay, so he starts at 0, and then does he climb the steps again?
Yes, he does climb the steps again. So theoretically, one of the nice things is we don't have to pay his retirement, and then he loses the other part of the income. That's how lucrative. And it is a common practice in the state right now, especially on these tough to fill positions. There's only one school for tech ed now, and that's St. Cloud.
St. Cloud State?
Yeah, St. Cloud State.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Phelps.
Yes.
Are we creating another past practice type situation here so that I'm a teacher, I retired, I taught English, whatever language. And then if I want to continue as a substitute, because now I've created the vacancy. So now are we creating a past practice? Well, if so-and-so can do that and take their job back, can I? I mean, I think that's, I don't know. I love these teachers, by the way. They're very, very good assets into our community. But it's just that I don't want to hear this
past practice garbage too much more. That's, I don't like it.
Superintendent Phelps.
Yeah, this one is not a past practice because if you remember, the job is put out. So people can apply for it. And then we will interview if there are other people that apply for it. There's some positions, for example, we had one position with 49 people apply. And that one is gone, you know, that one's still open out there. So it depends. We want to we want to hire the best people for the job. And right now, as far as I know, Marty is the best, but we'll see what tomorrow brings. And that's the thing that both Randy and Marty are willing to take a chance with. And if they find something else, I mean, Marty, I think, struggles without giving any private information. He struggles sometimes, should I or should not, you know? Because he loves to do his hunting and fishing, and retirement's part of it. But at the same time, he loves working with kids.
He's great with children.
Yes, he is.
He's very good with both men and I. And I'm not, no aspersions to their teaching, believe me. However, I just don't like hearing that past practice term. It comes up quite a bit, and we need to either get rid of the term or create situations that you cannot fall into that trap.
And this one is not part of that trap. Correct.
Any other questions on that? Moving on to superintendent evaluation. In our last meeting, we had 7 choices. And what I said we were going to do was we were gonna vote and narrow it down to 2. And then argue for the 2 of them and see who won. So does anybody have one that they like, personal best?
You were emailed 6 of them.
I know,
I think 7 was on there, wasn't it?
no,
I'm sorry.
number 7 wasn't on there. Number
Sorry,
7 wasn't in the email, but 6 of them were. No,
I'm sorry if I made a mistake.
this number 7 was just the 1 page, but it looked like this. Oh, it was on the 1 page. All pages. It's the old one from Royalton, is what it is.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Does anybody wanna throw a number out that they like and argue for it?
I like number 6.
I like number 6.
The reason why I like it is because it will be easy to average them. We can provide a forward evaluation rather than 6 individual evaluations.
Okay.
And I'm Director Lang. Personally, I liked number 1 because it included so many areas that the superintendent is responsible for. It also gave you a little food for thought on things, at least me, that I didn't even realize should be addressed in our superintendents. And I just think it's a fair tool. It's like anything else with assessment. It's a tool. That's all it is.
Okay. Anybody else have a different one or agree with the same one? Director Garrett.
Hi, this is Director Garrett. I also liked number 6 as well. The only thing that I would maybe make is if maybe after each one we had a section for some comment, because sometimes there needs to be some context. So if something's excellent or if something needs improvement, right, to help put in a context or an example. That would have been the only thing. I know at the end of it, it had one kind of final one. At least the one I had printed did.
I think it says comments on the back or something.
Yeah, but that would be the only, I guess I like 6. And just with that addition about having comments going to be available for each one.
Reference the question.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I think that each question is very valuable on an evaluation to know if you're not where you'd like to see anybody be at, what is it that you want to see? And that's the whole idea on any of them, but that should be, I would think, after every question. The other thing I would suggest, no matter what form you decide on, it would probably be a good thing to select questions that you can pretty much agree on. You could end up with an evaluation with 50 questions if you're not careful. Limit the number of questions, get to the heart of the matter, and move on.
Okay. Anybody else want to make an argument for one of the numbers? Ellie, you're so quiet over there tonight.
All right, I guess when I read through these, I have to be in the agreement of John of, something not short. I mean, we don't want to short ourselves and not reach goals that we want to reach. Some of these seem so lengthy to me, yet the Form 7 is too short.
What is it, one question?
And I guess, yeah, whatever evaluation, which like number 6, I'd have to say it's pretty, cut and dried, but, definitely something I've learned is to, on those evaluation questions, be sure that as a board, those are, when we sat down in the strategic planning, however long ago that was, and definitely be, what's that?
It's getting on 2 years.
Right. So definitely be sure those are what we're evaluating on in a nutshell of, the top things we want them to meet.
Okay.
I don't care what form, what it is. I guess I'm not dead set on something. If I had to choose out of these 7, I would probably say, along with Noel and Russ, number 6, but like I said, we've got to have those goals and evaluate on those. That's my main concern.
Okay. Well, my personal choice is number 7. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I would go with number 6.
All right. Well, I ain't gonna call a vote. It's a consensus. We got 4 people that want to do number 6. We'll do number 6, and I'll have to schedule a meeting. But I do agree. Russ, you said if you exceed or if you are failing, you should probably have a comment. Probably more for our board. We need to know, if it's not up to what we expect, we need to offer some. This is I've done a couple of them, and it can't be like sunshiny words where need to do better with kids or something. I mean, give real examples so that you think you're going to help, and they can come back and say, well, we tried it and this didn't work. What else can I try? I mean, we're ultimately trying to work together. So, we need to offer constructive criticism and a pathway, a vision as a board of where we want to move. So, all right, well, we're going to use number 6 then. We're going to move on to superintendent's contract.
Well, what I was going to say is there was H before then.
Oh. Okay.
Randy, and the reason I put that down, it goes back to what I said before. You need to get together to put together the evaluation.
Yeah.
Well, you said you liked the form and you had a consensus on that, and I agree with you, by the way. I wouldn't want an evaluation that you just go down and put smiley faces on everything. That's not an evaluation.
But even if you get really fancy, when what happens when, like Ellie said, when the form gets so long, all of your answers end up looking the same. We need to collaborate and, your answers will all start looking the same. You almost just need to be objective, get in and get out, and and it's done. That's, so,
So what I'm saying is to set a meeting up
yeah,
to
let's
do
set a
that.
meeting. That's usually at the end. All right, let's set a meeting. When do you guys want to meet to do this?
As soon as possible.
All right. Let's,
Let me pull up a calendar to see. Next week.
Busy.
I know.
Oh, Randy's been more busy at the
Yes,
moment.
Yeah, this is a busy time,
Come
believe me.
before I'm swamped. Every evening I'm booked to read.
I
I'm
can't
gonna do
imagine
it this week.
It's gonna pick up.
Yeah, if we could do it this week.
Wednesday, Friday.
Anybody good for this week?
I am. So Thursday, I'm not.
I would rather not Friday. I could make Friday evening work.
Is this a public meeting, John?
Yeah, it should be, unless you're gonna evaluate me. If you're gonna evaluate me after you set the evaluation, then no, it's not public.
Well, we picked number 6. Is everybody okay with filling number 6 out?
Yeah, we could, that's what I would think, is that everybody fills it out. and
So
brings it.
do you want it to be a public eval or a private eval?
Well, it should be a private eval, but I would say, shouldn't other people be able to look at that and make comment as to what they would like to see for questions?
Well, I put it out in December, I think everybody's had a chance to
But the question was before, which one are you gonna go to? Now, what do you want for questions? I'm just putting it out there for you to talk about. Are those the questions that you as a board
I
want?
think we agreed to them.
Okay,
So,
Okay, so 28th or 29th.
Mr. Chair, I do have to say something.
what do you have?
May I?
Yeah.
Thank you. This evaluation, and although I think it was written in the spirit of an evaluation, it concerns me that it's almost specifically considering certain actions that were taken by this superintendent. And it's not really real general, it's pretty specific. Now, that's my concern. You, obviously none of you see that, but I do feel that it's rather biased. That's all I have to say about it.
Mr. Chair? Yes. I won't be, I'm gonna be gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday. This- But I don't have to be here for this. I said,
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
evaluation. if they do it.
How about Tuesday?
We have to post it, I'm sure.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
You have to post the meeting.
We can go into the next week. I move my clients
So often.
a lot lately.
Let's have it May 4th. Does that work for everybody? 6 o'clock?
Or Sunday night? Or it doesn't matter, yeah, May 4th works for me, or I'm thinking, what about? No,
Sunday night would be awesome, but that's up to you guys. Can't go to church Sunday anyways.
I don't care. What works for everybody? Can't go to church anyhow.
Yeah, I'm fine either way.
Yeah, either one of those nights works for me.
Monday's
All right.
good, just do Monday.
Monday, all right. Next
6
Monday
o'clock?
at 6 o'clock.
I'll get it out.
And let's, everybody try to fill out their, I would ask that, I believe I know which form that is. That's the one that has the rolling scale. If you're on one end of the rolling scale, you should probably provide a comment. So one end or the other. So,
I think either way, we should try to add a comment, right, if we can.
well, yeah.
Constructive
So,
criticism.
so even if you get 6 answers and you end up in the middle, there's probably a comment that goes with it, you know, 'cause the chance of having 6 people agree. But we did this, I've done a couple of them, and I believe what you do is you get together, you push the desks within 6 feet of each other now, and you go through the stuff and you come up with a consensus of what you think, and we should be able to do that. All right, superintendent contracts. So in January, we had a vote to approve a contract. The committee came with a 3-year deal, and then we were gonna vote on a 2-year deal, and we didn't. Are we to the point where we wanna approve a contract instead of meeting to approve a contract?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I missed the negotiation committee meeting because I was sick. And, just don't feel like we did a really good negotiation on this contract. You know, when I came back from being sick, it was pretty much already written. There's some things in there that are just causes me some hesitation. One is the August evaluation date. The results from comprehensive exams don't come out until August. So we could potentially be evaluating a superintendent without knowing what the results were for the academic achievement of the students. The rest of August.
Yeah.
I kind of like to see that move until after the comprehensive assessments come out. That way you have something to look at and say, yeah, this is the result we wanted, or this isn't the result we wanted. Granted, there's other things to take into account, but that's an important one. If you're looking at a school, looking at academic achievement for that school. And I know next year, it's not in the matter because they're canceled, but for future boards and future children.
It's like any contract, once it gets written in, it's just gonna get cut and pasted.
Right.
Right in the
Yeah,
next one.
practice.
Superintendent Phelps, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I believe that is, the idea is to have 2 evaluations. One's kind of, how's it going halfway through, and then there's a final one later on. And I can't remember, I was just trying to look it up, and the idea is, you know, are we on the course? Is this what you want? Let's see where we are. And you give a standard evaluation for that. You're using the same one later on, which I thought was like 4 months. If I can find it, that's what I said. It wasn't intended to be one evaluation. The idea is to help work and coach along the way. You happen to remember, Noel, was that the final one or was that the first one?
That was the latest one that I saw in the meeting.
Yeah, but I'm saying there were 2 evaluations I put on that. Because everything I put in that contract wasn't just for me, it was for the future. That's what I was looking at.
Director Holm.
No.
Okay, so, question. At this point, where we're at with the superintendent contract, we haven't came to that, what do I want to say? Conclusion, I guess, per se, of how many years we would want to do the contract for.
That's been the hanging chad, yeah.
Do we, at some point, reconsider the negotiation of a contract in general? To start over, per se, I guess? I mean.
I suppose that's where we're at, is we need to post a meeting as a board and have a negotiation. I think we're to the point where we just probably need to negotiate as a board. And, you know, I think we just have to set a meeting, but that's the only thing on the docket, is the negotiating, and probably an approval in you don't have to the approval, but you know, I mean, it's getting on the point that, or does everybody agree with that, or do you just do the negotiating? And I just think if we get to the point where we're getting an agreement, we should get it done, because it's getting into May. So I don't want to do that the same night that we do a superintendent evaluation. If anybody else agrees with that, I don't.
I think we should do it after the evaluation.
The following Monday?
Yeah.
The following Monday at 6 o'clock, does that work for everybody?
What Monday is that?
The one after the next one.
Maybe 11th.
All right.
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
that's.
is that not good? Oh, okay. Is that,
You feel like
back Tuesday? All right, the 12th, does that work for everybody?
The opener's not canceled?
No, we opened May stores today. Oh, really?
I'm not done planning, you guys are gonna be helping me to plan.
You saying the 12th?
12,
Well, we have a policy meeting.
at 6 o'clock. All right, we're done with discussion items. Moving on to action items, bank accounts and financials.
I'll make a motion, Director Holm.
Director Lang, I'll second.
It was moved by Director Holman, seconded by Director Lang to approve accounts payable and receivables, and employee reimbursements as attached, and approve all other financial reports as presented. Oh, I forgot who started. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye when I say your name. Russ Garretts.
Aye.
Mary Lane.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Mark Petron.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-0. All right, approval of resignations.
So moved, Mary Lang.
Seconded, Russ Garrett.
It was approved by Director Lang and seconded by Director Garretts to approve the above listed resignations. Thank you for services rendered. All in favor, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye when I say your name. Mary Lane.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Mark Petron.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Russ Garretts.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-0. Approval of hirings. I'll move this. Director Hackett.
Director Garrett will second it.
It was moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Garretts to approve the hirings listed above as per administration recommendation. They are Stephanie Berg, high school business teacher, John Koenig, high school English teacher, and Jeannie Omvig, high school science teacher. Any discussion?
You missed the first one, Randy.
Kaylin Szymanski.
Oh, Kaylin Szymanski, elementary special education teacher. Any discussion?
I have a question, Randy.
Go for it.
When we look at our attachments on the board book or whatever, you know, some of these come in at different steps. How do we decipher that, or how do you guys decipher that?
It's, well, one of them, I was gonna say, was a business teacher. She's coming in, there were 5 business teachers that applied for the job. Joel is recommending her to come in at 6, okay? Anything over 4, the board has to approve that, okay? There were 5, like I said, 3 of them would not be applicable to hire for a number of different reasons. 4th one is not even close, and all of them, the 2 of them would both be at the master's level. This individual was already here at one time, left to go to Alec. There is where she student taught, and she was given opportunities, and some of that fell through, so she went into the private sector. She did not feel that the private sector was for her, wants to come back into teaching, wants to come here. And so Joel has recommended her at 6, but that needs your approval, master 6.
So it's just kind of, I mean, it just kind of deciphered on their experience, or, you know, because I noticed like the next was at a 0.
That's because 0 step, he's a first-year teacher, brand new.
Oh, gotcha, okay, okay.
I do want to add to that,
Yes.
just because John and I have had discussion.
Yeah.
I'm a business teacher, and I just think that the role will get correlated if I don't say it out loud. And I mean, and I know that they really want her, and I think, I'm sure she's a great teacher. Joel gave her a letter of recommendation when she left here. So obviously, I think she's a great teacher. She does, when I looked at her application and John and I talked, I wish Joel and I would have a conversation. She has 4.5 years of teaching in a school district. So just, I want to bring that out. I know she wants to come in at a 6. I recommended a 5, but I don't know if she'll come in at that. I don't know. And I mean, I guess that's got to be a conversation. Joel's the one that chatted with her, I think, or John, I don't know, but.
Joel, can you come in on that, please?
That's the one.
Yep, she has 1 year, 2 years here, multiple years in Alexandria. Great candidate, MBA, can teach college classes for us.
Yeah.
She's worth every cent that we can pay her. Especially in the candidate pool that we have. We're very fortunate that we're going to be presented with this opportunity.
So Joel, do you think we can get her at a 6?
Yes.
The board's decision.
I don't know if we're left with without.
Does that answer your question, Ellie?
Yep.
All
I
right.
just didn't understand what.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, indicate by saying aye when I say your name. Oh, I don't know who I started with. Noel Gerard.
I, point of order, is supposed to be on off of that.
Are you up? Because, just a second, this is a point of order. They said that you're supposed to alternate them. So that the same person isn't voting first every time is what
That is what they said at
at my training that I took.
This is just parliamentary.
That's what they said, that you're supposed to. That's why I've been trying to start with something different every time.
It's not a big deal.
That's why I'm doing it, if anybody's wondering. So it's not the same person on the spot all the time. Mark Petron.
Aye.
Mary Lane.
Aye.
Right? Oh, boy. Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holmes.
Aye.
Russ Garris.
Aye.
All right, donations. We have a $2,000 donation to the robotics club.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Oh, I don't know who has
Director
it.
Lang moved it, Director Gerard seconded it.
Very impressed by their demonstration, by the way.
All right,
Thanks to Martin. Legion.
so we have to do this by resolution, so. Member Lang introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas the Royalton Legion has generally offered to donate $2,000 to the Royalton School District. Whereas the conditions on this gift are for use for the Royalton's robotics season and by the robotics club. Therefore, be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept the gift. The motion for adoption, the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by Member Gerard, and upon a roll call vote be taken thereon, the following voted in favor thereof. Is there any discussion on this? Sorry, I didn't get it before. Director Hackett. Aye. Director Petron.
Aye.
Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Holm.
Aye.
Oh, I missed one. Director Gerard.
Aye.
And the following voted for: Hackett, Petron, Garretts, Lang, Holmes, Gerard. And the following voted against: no one. And the following abstained: no one. The foregoing resolution approved this 27th day, 2020, with 6-0-0. All right, that's done. Donation letter, approval of facility fees. Back facility fees. We decided we were going to remove that. We need a motion to remove that now? Or
You tabled it already. Yeah,
already.
table, yeah. No, you need to table it. I'm sorry.
I think I do need to table it.
I make a motion to table the facilities fees.
I'll second.
Was moved by Director Garretts and seconded by Director Lane to table the facility fees. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye by designation of your name. Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Action items number 10, approval of FMLA leaves. We have Maren Polzing, Lust, fourth grade teacher, and Caitlin Oakdahl, high school Spanish teacher.
Director Garretts, so moved.
Director Gerard, second.
It was moved by Director Garretts and seconded by Director Gerard to approve the FMLA leaves of Maren Polzing and Caitlin Oakdahl. Director Hackett, aye. Oh, discussion, yes.
Chair, I had a question for Don. So, these people, when they're gone, do they go on COBRA insurance or?
No, when they're on a leave of absence, they get, per contract, they get 6 weeks paid sick leave. And then they can go up to 12 weeks. The rest of it is a non-paid. They do not go on COBRA. We hold everything because per FMLA, we cannot COBRA anybody. And it happens when they come back, we do pay docs and readjustments to their benefits to bring them current what they owe for their benefit.
So they continue with their health insurance? And
Yep.
then pay it back when they come back?
Yeah, legally, we cannot COBRA anybody that's on FMLA. That's part of the statute.
How about, I noticed, but they're not on here now, but there was somebody that looked like they wanted 2 years?
That was a leave of absence. That's different than family medical leave.
Okay.
A leave of absence is somebody wanting to be gone for general reasons or academic reasons. That they are gone. They are COBRA. They are on a leave of absence. They forfeit their benefits. They go on COBRA. So it's part of them saying, I'm going to take a break, but like second base, I'm going to hold the position. The district's going to hold that position for them if they choose to come back.
What if they go on that FMLA and we pay for their insurance during that time, and they don't come back, who pays the insurance?
We bill them. We do bill them for that. If they're on FMLA and they choose not to return, whatever they owe the district, they're liable for. We will bill them for it. And I've never had somebody that didn't come through and not pay their benefit or their part of it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? It was moved by Director Garrett and seconded by Director Gerard to approve the FMLA leaves. Roll call votes, signify your vote by saying, after I say your name. Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Garrett.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-0. Upcoming meeting schedule. On Tuesday, May 12th, we'll have a policy meeting at 8:30 in the morning. And at 6 o'clock at night, we'll meet to the superintendent's contract. On May 4th, we're gonna do the 6 o'clock meeting for a superintendent evaluation.
That was the 5th.
No, not the fourth.
That was the
Fourth is a
5th.
Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry, I looked around.
Matter of fact, I sent you out a invite already. I think that was the 5th. Yeah, Tuesday, the 5th, I thought was what we decided. Monday the 4th, okay, I'll slide it back.
Randy, could you start over so I can see what these all right?
Yep, I'll start all over, because I didn't start with the 4th anyhow, so. All right, so upcoming meeting schedule on the 4th, May 4th, at 6 o'clock at night, we got the superintendent evaluation. And we all have homework for that.
Director Hackett, that's gonna be a closed meeting?
That's gonna be a closed meeting.
Correct.
Oh.
Thank you.
And I believe when we come out of that, we have to have a
Summary.
half-page summary, yeah.
Yep.
Tuesday, May 12th, 8:30 in the morning is policy meeting. And then in the evening at 6 o'clock is the superintendent's contract meeting. And then Monday, May 18th at 6 o'clock will be the regular board meeting.
Superintendent contract was which date?
The 12th.
The 12th. 6 o'clock.
Superintendent Phelps, just make sure you get that on the board briefing.
It will be.
That we all remember to do our homework. All right, before I take a motion to adjourn, I'd just like to again thank David and Susan for being here and everybody for putting up with everything. And if you're listening, I hope it was fun. So I'll make a motion. All right.
I'll second.
It was moved by Director Petron and seconded by Director Holm to adjourn the meeting at 9 p.m. by roll call vote. Any discussion? Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Garrett.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-0. Meeting adjourned.
There we go. And we'll just meet